I always find it funny when people try to downplay the significance of a fictional character by pointing out the lack of exposure of a hero's villains. Wonder Woman on the Mount Rushmore of superheroes? Ha, I can't even name one of her villains. First of all, that's a you problem, and second, most of the casual audience would struggle to name 5 Wolverine or Hulk villains. And that same issue, unfortunately, can be applied to Superman. Batman and Spider-Man might be one of the only few standalone superheroes that have an extensive rogues gallery that the casual fan can list at least 10 villains for each character with relative ease. This is solely due to the amount of adaptations each character has had throughout the years that gives enough screen time to their rogues, showcasing why they're complex and interesting. More people could probably name more Flash villains than Superman because of the popularity of the Flash CW show. Whether or not they're actually well written is a different conversation, but at least they got exposure. There seems to be a pattern with what antagonists are used for theatrical Superman movies, a cycle I hope ends with the continuation and success of the new DCU. The main reason as to why most casual audiences probably aren't aware of a lot of Superman's villains, so people whose only exposure to superheroes is live action media, is solely due to the fact that every theatrical live action Superman movie dating all the way back to 1978 has alternated between 3 or so villains. The common choices directors like to choose from include Lex Luthor, everybody's favorite bald-headed demon and menace,
Bald-headed demon,
General Zod, and a clone of Superman. Out of all the theatrically released solo Superman movies, I think there's been like 6, 7 of them thus far.
Shades on Apple with the glasses, bro say cause he a savage.
Lex Luthor is the main antagonist in 4 of them. 5 if you want to include Batman vs Superman. The classic 1978 Superman movie had Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor as the main villain, where he wanted to use a 500 megaton bomb to destroy most of California in hopes of building a new West Coast under his real estate rule. The abysmal monstrosity that is Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, depicts Lex creating Nuclear Man, a genetic clone of Superman created from a single strand of his hair, with the intent to kill Superman. Sound familiar? For someone who's supposed to be a genetic clone of Superman and was put onto a nuclear missile that exploded in the sun, he looks nothing like Christopher Reeve as Superman for some reason. They should have just gone with Bizarro or something close to that concept visually. Apparently, around 45 minutes of footage were cut from the film, and deleted scenes showed that the Nuclear Man seen in the final product was the second attempt at trying to create a clone of Superman. The original version was very dumb and somewhat resembled Superman, so that's probably as close to Bizarro as they were gonna go. Lex would return as the main villain in Superman Returns, with a plan that was similar to the first movie. He would make his debut in the DCEU in BVS, pitting Superman and Batman against one another, and doing all types of shenanigans to give Superman a hard time. While you somewhat get a new villain in Doomsday, he was created from General Zod's body and was essentially a science experiment engineered by Luthor using Kryptonian tech. And by now, we know Lex is the main antagonist of the latest Superman movie, where he seeks to ruin Superman's reputation. Now, I don't think it's a problem to have him as the main villain. Even though this isn't the first theatrically released Superman movie, it is the kickoff for a brand new interconnected universe, and it's important to establish your key players. It helps to cement Superman's ideology and how Lex acts as an opposing force to combat Superman's presence as a symbol of hope. Superman probably best conveyed the absolute hatred that resides within Lex's heart out of all the theatrical portrayals we've seen over the years. I saw some people try to pose the question of who's a bigger hater between Eddie Brock from Spider-Man 3 and Lex Luthor from Superman.
Are you serious right now, bro?
All you have to do is pay attention to the chaotic nature of Lex's scientific achievements, from creating a pocket universe, creating a near-perfect genetic clone of a Kryptonian, nearly tearing apart the planet in half, all in an effort to get to Superman as he sees him as a threat to humanity, risking tearing a hole in the fabric of reality with the use of interdimensional travel. Doesn't matter if you were innocent or did something as little as show support for Superman. He will use you as bait to get what he wants, created an entire international conflict and endangered the lives of an entire country. Gee, I wonder who's the bigger hater.
I created the Baravian military conflict so I'd have an excuse to kill you.
Why?
Because you're destroying us!
Thankfully, this won't be the last of Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, as he's an important character for the world building of the DCU, outside of just the Superman movie. With proper execution, this could turn out to be one of the greatest comic book rivalries ever put to screen. That being said, for the sequel that James Gunn is writing, or semi-sequel, whatever the hell he's calling it, we gotta switch it up. Let Lex's bald ass stay in Belle Reve for a little bit. I speak for a lot of Superman fans when I say we do not need General Zod or any other Kryptonian as the main threat threat for this next installment, no Superman villain has ever gotten the theatrical treatment akin to Luthor or Zod. We've never gotten Bizarro in his true form, and they fumbled the bag with the theatrical debut of Doomsday in BVS. When Superman fans think of his most prolific villains, the one character that's up there with Lex Luthor and General Zod is Brainiac. Despite having been created almost 70 years ago, Brainiac has never once appeared in a live-action Superman movie.
You fucking with me, right?
There's this weird curse that occurs when Hollywood executives try to use Brainiac in a movie. The movie never ends up working out. Richard Donner talked about wanting to use Brainiac for Superman 3 before getting fired during the production of Superman 2. There was an attempt at making a 5th Superman installment starring Christopher Reeve in the early 90s, which would have been a full-on science fiction tale pitting Superman against Brainiac. The plot would have involved the bottle city of Kandor and Superman reconnecting with his Kryptonian heritage. Superman Lives is the infamous cancelled movie that would have starred Nicolas Cage as Superman. Kevin Smith wrote a script that had Brainiac send Doomsday to kill Superman, as well as teaming up with Lex Luthor. When Tim Burton was brought on to direct the movie, he hired Wesley Strick to rewrite the script and had Brainiac and Lex Luthor physically merge into a character named Lexiac.
Okay.
Superman Returns was set to get a sequel before it was released in theaters, which would have been more action-packed, and the writer was interested in using Brainiac as the main villain. Zack Snyder initially planned to have Brainiac and the Kryptonians that were trapped in the Phantom Zone serve as antagonists for a Man of Steel sequel, before Warner Brothers decided to go with Batman vs. Superman instead.
Now, Man of Steel 2, if you were to make it, you know, with Brainiac or whatever you're gonna do, which it certainly could have been, and maybe that's it, you hold it off for a movie, and that's possible.
The second attempt at developing a Man of Steel 2 started around the time of Black Adam's theatrical release, where Stephen Knight wrote a treatment of the movie with Brainiac as the main villain. Evidently, this never ended up happening. Brainiac has been getting hoed in live-action movies since the 90s. Absolutely no love given to him whatsoever.
I will stop being so polite. Get the fuck out of my sight before I demolish you.
Given the fact that Gunn is finishing up the script for the next installment in the Superman saga in the DCU, this is the perfect opportunity to finally adapt Brainiac on the big screen. His presence wouldn't feel too out of place or outlandish, given the fantastical nature of the universe that's already set in stone. You could have this next movie center on Superman and Supergirl teaming up to fight Brainiac, akin to the Superman Brainiac story arc by Jeff Johns and Gary Frank. This could actually allow the characters to explore more of their Kryptonian heritage, with Brainiac having captured the city of Kandor from Krypton months prior to its explosion. A threat like Brainiac would definitely take the combined might of multiple characters, given his 12th level intellect that makes his telepathic mind thousands of times more powerful than a Kryptonian. The Supergirl movie would probably give more background on Krypton, and seeing the Super Cousins team up would be a really cool experience after spending time with each character in their own movie. I'm gonna need Mr. Gunn to lock in.
Come on, Jimmy, you gotta have something.
Sorry, dude. There's nothing I can do, muscle man.
Jimmy! Come on, Jimmy. You know you owe me.
Brainiac isn't the only contender for the next installment in the Superman saga, as majority of Superman's rogues have either never been adapted in a live-action movie or done a disservice. The lack of utilization of Superman's wider villains only further spreads the misconception that Superman is too overpowered, and only characters with a similar power set are capable of taking him down. There's a good range of versatility in Superman's rogues gallery that's essentially unknown to the general public. You can pick a good handful of powerhouses from the source material that prove encounters with Superman aren't boring because he's so powerful. I don't know if they'd want to do it this soon in the DCU, but at some point I could see Superman encountering the likes of Mr. Mxyzptlk with the confirmation of interdimensional imps in Superman and Peacemaker Season 2.
You were out there helping them?
Oh no, that's just some dimensional imp.
Crispers rummaging around the Munchkin dimension 8 doors down.
They're not Munchkins, Dad. They're imps.
Some of these villains don't even need to be the main bad guys. They can serve as secondary antagonists or the muscle to contend with Superman. The Engineer, for example, could have honestly been Parasite, Atomic Skull, or a Metallo type character. Maybe Silver Banshee or Livewire could have worked if you wanted to have a female villain. Her presence, I guess, sets up the Authority, but that movie isn't even in active development at the moment. It's on the back burner. We don't really get to learn much about her in terms of her motivations and why she was willing to sacrifice her humanity to beat Superman. Some of these characters haven't had proper renditions in media since Superman the Animated Series. Given that Superman is finally being treated as a priority on the theatrical side of things within DC Studios, it's only a matter of time before we see more and more Superman villains on the big screen. Audience reception has shown that people are vibing with this new Superman and will likely continue to be a face of the DC brand for many years down the road. Batman villains shouldn't be the only ones to get the love and attention they deserve. He for sure has the best rogues gallery out of any superhero in my opinion, but they're not the only ones with any intrigue. I mean, for crying out loud, the Penguin and Clayface are getting or have already had their own solo projects. There doesn't need to be a specific villain adapted in order for the next Superman movie to be good. As long as Zod isn't the main villain, I'll be satisfied.